Very good morning and thank you for joining us on this Thursday's edition of the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne and as always we're coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. This morning too we are ready with the details of all the top stories from both here at home and around the world. Do stay tuned with us for the news in detail. Let's start off with news here at home. The government's paddy procurement program for the 2025 Yalla cultivation season commences today. Deputy Minister of Agriculture Newsfirst Karunaratne stated that the government has taken measures to purchase moist paddy as well during this season. Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board of Sri Lanka, Manjula Pinnalanda, announced that the government will purchase Nadu paddy at 120 rupees per kilogram, Samba at 125 rupees per kilogram and Kiri Samba at 132 rupees per kilogram. Now a sum of 6 billion rupees has been allocated from the recent budget for this procurement program. The Paddy Marketing Board chairman further noted that most storage facilities have been prepared in order to allow a higher volume of purchases compared to the previous cultivation season. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Public Administration, Provincial Councils and Local Government says the revised pensions approved under the recent budget will be granted starting this month. Minister Professor Chandana Aberatne stated that more than 500,000 retired public sector employees will benefit from this increased pension payments. This move comes as part of the government's broader effort to support retired state workers amidst the rising cost of living. Let's move on to more local news for this morning. A discussion was held yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat between Dr. Nandika Sanat Kumar Nayaka, Secretary to the President, and Her Excellency Bonnie Horbach, the Ambassador of the Netherlands to Sri Lanka. The talks focused on the possible return to Sri Lanka of ancient artifacts and manuscripts currently in the possession of the Netherlands. Ambassador Horbach expressed her gratitude for the cooperation extended by the government of Sri Lanka in this endeavour. She also remarked that this initiative presents a significant opportunity to further strengthen the cultural ties between the two countries. The government of the Netherlands has adopted a policy position that colonial-era artifacts should be returned to their countries of origin as part of efforts to strengthen cooperation with formerly colonized nations. And in line with this, they have initiated a research program as a first step towards the restitution of such cultural objects. An agreement has been reached with Sri Lankan authorities to conduct joint research on colonial-era artifacts currently held in the Netherlands. As an initial step, it is expected that researchers from both the countries will conduct studies on the collection of these ancient manuscripts held in the Netherlands under the leadership of Sri Lanka's Department of National Archives. Now, the Sri Lankan authorities say that narcotics with an estimated street value of approximately 23 billion rupees have been smuggled into the country so far this year via illegal maritime routes. According to the Sri Lanka police, the narcotics, mainly heroin and crystal methamphetamine, which is commonly known as ice, were primarily transported using fishing vessels. The drugs were seized in 4 major raids carried out this year, leading to the arrest of a total of 25 suspects. Sri Lanka police revealed that the operations resulted in the seizure of 542 kilograms of heroin and 1,216 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine. Authorities say investigations are continuing to uncover the broader network behind these smuggling operations. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health says legal action has been taken against 403 individuals for maintaining environments that support mosquito breeding. Consultant community physician Dr. Prashila Samaravira of the National Dengue Control Unit says that by the end of the 3rd day of the special dengue prevention week that is currently being implemented, a total of 78,721 premises had been inspected across the island. And out of that number, 30,367 premises were inspected yesterday alone, with legal action initiated against 117 individuals on that day. The Special Dengue Prevention Week began on the 30th of last month, focusing on 16 high-risk districts identified for intensive monitoring and control efforts. Today marks the 4th day of this campaign, which aims to identify and eliminate mosquito breeding grounds as part of a broader national initiative to combat the spread of dengue fever. And in more local news, Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Higher Education and Vocational Training, Dr. Therunee Karunaratne, has instructed authorities to formulate necessary recommendations and actions to prevent ragging, harassment and all forms of violence within universities and other higher education institutions. This directive was issued during the first official discussion held yesterday between the Prime Minister and members of the National Task Force established to eradicate ragging, violence and intimidation from higher education institutions. Several key decisions were made during this discussion. Among them, the most significant one included taking immediate steps to eliminate ragging, updating existing laws related to student harassment and establishing a structured mechanism for victims to report incidents and receive support. The government says these measures aim to ensure a safer and more respectful learning environment for all students across the country. And now on to our weather forecast for today. The Met Department says that several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Nuwara Eliya, Kandy, Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uba province and in the Ampara and Batiklu districts during the afternoon or night. Fairly strong winds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. And as always, the general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Let's now take a look at international news for this morning. Hamas said on Wednesday it was studying what US President Donald Trump called a final ceasefire proposal for Gaza, but that Israel must pull out of the enclave, and Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu said Hamas would be eliminated. Trump said on Tuesday that Israel had agreed to the conditions needed to finalize a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas after a meeting between his representatives and Israeli officials. In a statement, the Palestinian militant group said it was studying new ceasefire offers received from mediators Egypt and Qatar, but that it aimed to reach an agreement that would ensure an end to the war and an Israeli pullout from the Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called for the elimination of Hamas in his first public remarks since Trump's announcement of this ceasefire. The two sides' statements reiterated long-held positions, giving no clues as to whether or how a compromise agreement could be reached. There is growing public pressure on Netanyahu to reach a permanent ceasefire and end the nearly 2-year-long war, a move opposed by hardline members of his right-wing ruling coalition. And in more news overseas, Kiev has warned that an interruption of US weapons shipments will encourage Russia to prolong the war in Ukraine, now in its 4th year. On Tuesday, the White House said it had cut off some weapons deliveries to Ukraine. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said that the decision was taken to put America's interests first, following a Defense Department review of US military support and assistance to other countries. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the two countries were now clarifying all the details on supplies, while the foreign ministry warned any delays would only encourage the aggressor, as they said, to continue the war and terror rather than seek peace. The ministry particularly emphasized the need for Kiev to strengthen its air defenses as Russia continues to pummel the country with missiles and drones on a near-nightly basis. A Kiev-based US diplomat was invited to the foreign ministry for talks on Wednesday. However, Ukraine's defense ministry said it had not received any official notification from the US about the suspension or revision of the weapons deliveries and urged people not to speculate on the basis of partial information. But in a statement, the defense ministry also said the path to ending the war was through consistent and joint pressure on the aggressor. At the weekend, Ukraine endured its biggest aerial attack since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, with more than 500 drones and ballistic cruise missiles launched at its cities. Coming up next is your sports news for this morning. And in sports, it's cricket today. Sri Lankan all-rounder Wanindu Hasaranga expressed his delight at reaching the milestone of 100 wickets in one-day internationals and reaffirmed his commitment to give his best for the country in future matches. Hasaranga made these comments during the post-match press conference following Sri Lanka's convincing win against Bangladesh in the first ODI held at the R. Premadasa International Cricket Stadium in Colombo. Winning the toss, Sri Lanka opted to bat first. The home side posted a total of 244 runs, with Charita Solanka leading from the front with his fifth ODI century. Kusal Mendis contributed 45 runs, while Janit Lianage added 29. Bangladesh's reply was met with a fierce bowling display. Hasaranga and fellow spinner Kamilu Mendes ripped through the Bangladeshi batting order, taking 6 wickets within a span of just 5 runs. Hasaranga was the standout performer, claiming 4 wickets for just 10 runs, while Kamilu Mendes took 3 wickets for 19 runs. Hasaranga's performance marked a significant milestone as he became the second Sri Lankan bowler to claim 100 ODI wickets in the fewest number of innings. For Bangladesh, Tanzid Hassan was the top scorer with 62 runs. However, the team fell short of the 245-run target, being bowled out for 167. And that brings to a close this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne. Thank you for joining us, and do make sure to join us tomorrow as well, same time, same place, for more of the very latest from here at home and around the world. Take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.